Hi everybody, welcome to this video on how to take an overcast dull day shot like this and make it into a moody black and white. This is a two-shot panoramic taken with the 24mm tilt shift lens. It had a grad filter on. You can see the sky's nice and dark. It didn't affect the bottom of the shot. So the first thing we need to do is stitch them together. So what I'm going to do is click and then shift click to select them both, and then Control Shift and M merges them. So we'll just wait for that. Bing, there you go. As if by magic, it's created a stack 3 shots, so it collects together the 2 component raw files and then places the DNG file which it's created. We want a fairly moody black and white, so as with all my black and whites in Lightroom these days, the first port of call is the new profile area here, and as you can see you get all these presets to play with. Now realistically I'm not saying there's one right or wrong here, so what you do is work your way through each one. So I'm after high contrast. I want deep blacks and I want bright white. Obviously these are just a start point, you will tweak afterwards, but that's 1, 3 or 4. 4's got brighter whites. Okay, now you've got a slider to see how much of that effect you want, so let's go for something like that. I'm keeping an eye on this histogram. It's getting close to the edge there and not too bad there, so hit close on that. We're good to go. I want detail in this light area here. To pull detail back, we use the highlight slider. Obviously clarity is a good thing for this kind of thing, but the one that's going to make the most difference is the new dehaze slider. It adds in a lot of punch, as you can see. Maybe too much. So we've got these very deep dark areas here. As you can see, they're almost black. So if you want to lessen that darkness, you can bring the shadows up a bit, or if you want to really go for it, you can make it darker by using the shadows. I wouldn't really play too much with the blacks and whites in this particular case, because the histogram's showing that we're at black and white point ends there already. Now if you want to make it really cool, as in cold, what you can do is add a bit of split toning. You can add blue into the shadows, just ever so slightly, like that. If you prefer, you can add it into the highlights. I think it's probably more effective in the highlights really, but not much, doesn't take a lot. Now working our way down the panel here, I've not touched the tone curve or anything, just a bit of split toning. I'll add a bit more sharpening. It was shot at ISO 100, so I'm not going to bother with any noise reduction. It's on a tilt shift lens, so you can't do any lens profile corrections. So the final thing really is to add a bit of a vignette. That's quite a lot of a vignette. It really focuses the eye on the zoom of this thing, and if you want to go really traditional, you can add a bit of grain. I'll show you what that does when you zoom in. So that's lots of grain, that's no grain, that's a little bit. I'm not going to bother with this one because it's quite a nice smooth shot. I went to all the trouble of sharpening it and getting the focus right. Let's not bother with that. Final thing is, what crop should we have? Because that's just a bit of an odd shape. It's fairly arbitrary from the panoramic. So I always, when I've done this with a tilt shift lens, I try the square one first. So let's just, all I'm doing now, I'm just tweaking. So the third line's on the top of the walls. Can you see where I put it? Well, it's not third line, it's a golden section I'm using here. And then when you're ready, you hit return and you get this. So far, I've not done any local adjustments, but if you wanted to, let's make the sky a bit more moody. I'm going to actually use a grad tool, drag from below the horizon down a little bit, like that, and Partridge approves. Right, so there's no effect there. All I'm going to do now is just reduce the highlights a little bit. If you want a proper moody sky, you can just up the dehaze a little bit. I only want that to affect the sky, which is the bright bits. So the new range mask feature, luminance, that's what we want. Luminance allows you to pick the brightness area you want, so you can pick dark bits or bright bits. So I just want bright bits, and then stop it affecting the dark areas. And as I go up with the slider, watch what happens. So the hilltop stops being affected by that. You can see. So we've not got that grad filter blackening the top of the hill kind of look to it. So that's made that a lot more foreboding. Now we can't really do the same with the road, but what we can do, if we go over to the brush, let's say we wanted a lot of detail in the road, which isn't already there. The bright bits, it's fairly plain this, so it's not going to do a lot of difference, but I'll just switch on the mask overlay so you can see where I'm brushing. There we go. I'm going to press Alt and just draw up these sides to stop it affecting the walls so much. Like that. And down this side as well. Got it? There we go. So we switch that off so we can see what effect we're having. So if you wanted it black, you can put the exposure down enough. If you wanted it white, you can put the exposure up. I won't suggest you do either of those. Now, because it is quite a featureless sort of tarmac, what you can do, again, you can add a bit of dehaze to add texture. Loads of sharpness. Lots of clarity. That'll eke out some detail. If you wanted it a little bit brighter, draw the eye down, the yellow brick road or something like that, you can up it. Or if you want it a little bit more subtle, the whites, take those down. I quite like the in-your-faceness of having it really bright. So let's just hit F for full screen, just to see what it looks like. Yeah, I think that's pretty dramatic, isn't it? And then F again to go back. One thing I would be wary of is that we've got a bit of a halo on the top of there because we've ragged it quite a bit, haven't we? We've done a lot of work on it. One last thing you could do is, with negative clarity, draw over the horizon like that, and it should reduce any haloing we have. There you go. That little harsh line's been reduced if it's not actually gone. So that is pretty much the full process. So I've created a virtual copy of that shot. There we go. And then press Ctrl Shift and R to reset all the settings. So that's where we started. And that's where we got in just a few minutes. Lightroom's great, isn't it? Thanks for watching.